Hi, my name is Ashley Watt, and I am going to discuss this case study for EDL 853 class. To begin with, kind of to give you an overall summary of the issue that is happening here, I am the acting principal of Nottingham High School. The high school was built in the 1950s, and we currently have 3,200 students, so it has grown quickly out of the building that was initially built in 1950. So there are movable trailers outside so that there are classrooms that we can kind of adjust to the size of. The school hasn't been built onto, we just access those trailers. There has been a lack of funds to finish the ADA compliance, so making all of those trailers have a ramp so that students that are physically handicapped can access those trailers easy. We have a student, Miguel Hernandez, who was a star football player and is a big part of this community and has a lot of community support, was actually injured in one of our games. He unfortunately had a spinal injury, so when he returned to school, he now uses a wheelchair. The school issue that has arisen here is that we are not completely ADA compliant, and he has not been allowed to take biology because biology courses are in one of these trailers that just simply don't have wheelchair access. Some of the big issues legally, in the Title II of the Americans with Disabilities Act, it prohibits disability discrimination, and that shows inequality and bias in the allocation of resources for any public entity, which includes schools. From the case study that we have, I don't really know if Miguel was given a 504 plan. He should have been. That just protects him and his parents' right. But if he was given one, we are actually violating that as well. Ethical issues. The parents came in prior to him being re-enrolled and back in class and discussed and said the only thing that he needs is just access to classrooms, and that's all they wanted. And so his schedule was actually changed without consulting them. And as far as the case study says, I am not sure that the counselor informed me as a principal that she was going to change his schedule and not give him access to that biology course. This is something that should have been addressed when the parents were present for the initial meeting, and any change in that should have definitely included the principal and contact with the parents as well, so that we could have moved forward problem solving with the parents and saying, here's the issue we're having. Biology is out in one of these trailers that currently we don't have access to. How can we work together to solve this, instead of them kind of being blindsided after he's already back at school? And it's just kind of putting him in a really bad situation. And I can't imagine what he felt like being said, sorry, you can't take this course that you want to because now you're in a wheelchair. Overall, Miguel Hernandez's 504 plan is being violated because he is not being provided equitable access to a biology course due to his use of a wheelchair and the school's failure to become ADA compliant. Facts of the case, people involved in this case, obviously the person that we need to be thinking about first and foremost is Miguel, and the fact that he's obviously a great student. He has done a lot for our high school and our community. He's a 10th grader, which normally on the courses, biology falls in 10th grade. His parents, of course, have gone through, he and his parents have both gone through this trauma that obviously now he has to use a wheelchair, and psychologically that is very stressful as well. They have included a lawyer because of the way that this was presented and the incident that happened with him being moved from this biology course into another one. The counselor, Mrs. Guzman, the principal, which I'm acting principal, the superintendent is somebody that needs to be included, and also the maintenance staff are people that we need to think about in the facts of this case. And I'll discuss a little bit later the community as well. The other students in the community are people that are involved in this because they care deeply about Miguel, obviously. This is Nottingham High School. We have 3,200 students. The program that we offer, biology, is not necessarily required, but it is on kind of what I would assume is like Kansas Board of Regents. So if you take that class, you receive the Board of Regents certificate. So we are offering him an alternative course, science course, but it's not on that program that he wishes to be a part of. As on the last slide, I kind of explained that Miguel and the Hernandez family are obviously big stakeholders in this. The school overall, so the teachers and the students, and past that, the community are involved. How you handle something like this and how you make your school available and readily accessible and all of its programs to all of your students is an important way to even how maybe somebody decides to come to your school and be a part of it or stay with your school. So you really have to look at the big picture too of how you handle with this situation has a trickle-down effect to teachers, students, and the community overall. So here are a couple options that I kind of came up with. Option one is just tell the Hernandezes that this is the best option for him. We really can't do anything else. We are providing him with a science course, so he's still going to have graduation requirements. He's just not going to be able to take biology and do that kind of Board of Regents that he would like to do. And option two is we could actually have a biology teacher move their entire classroom to an accessible classroom that he could get to with his wheelchair. Option three would be to create an accessible entry to the biology classroom immediately. So a ramp to help him access that classroom that is in one of those portable trailers. Other options would include make a plan to finish the ADA compliance over the summer and give Miguel the option to take biology the following year. I know here in Kansas, kids can do that. They don't necessarily have to take it at a certain point. It just has to be in the curriculum sometime in their high school career. Option five would possibly be to find an online biology course. From the case study that we were provided, I don't really know the access to technologies and things like that, but maybe this is an instance that we could provide him with assistive technology that he could either take an online biology course or possibly broadcast that biology teacher in another room for him that is accessible to him. And we're thinking about evaluating and looking at these options. Option one, obviously it's the easiest. He's still receiving a science course, so he'll be able to graduate. The cons of it is that they involved a lawyer, and this could bring litigation against the school, which could be very costly. And overall, I really feel like this could affect community morale. Option two, moving biology classrooms. Logistically, this could just be an issue with there's a lot of stuff that goes into biology classroom. Possibly they have labs and stuff like that. This would possibly be hard depending on what other classrooms they have. That would be uprooting two teachers and moving entire classrooms, but it would meet Miguel's needs. So option three would be to create an accessible entry to the current biology classroom. So whatever portable trailer classroom that they had is providing a ramp for that. This would obviously meet Miguel's needs, but some of the issues with that could be, I would be worried about the timeliness of how quickly that could happen if maintenance staff could build something like that, or if you had to order it, and the safety of that if you tried to do that quickly. Of course, the expense is something you always have to consider when you are thinking of things for schools. Option four would be to update the ADA compliance over the summer and offer the biology the following year. So this would be obviously more time to plan. It would make the entire school available for those who have a physical handicap. The cons, of course, is the expense. The reason it hasn't been done already is because we've grown quickly and it's just very costly to do it. It could put Miguel behind his grade level. He could possibly have to have classes with students that are younger than him, which is less than desirable for some students, obviously. But looking further, the last option here I kind of came up with was the online courseware. And this one is kind of difficult for me right now, not knowing a whole lot else about the school as far as what technology do they have available, do they already have courseware. That of course comes at a cost. He could continue with the course though if you could find an option like that, and you wouldn't have to modify the environment right at that time. Again, the cons, we don't know if it's available. And obviously a science course is one of those more hands-on, the better. So him being able to have access to hands-on labs and things like that would obviously be better than him having to take an online course. choosing an option, some of the steps that I would take to do that, I think one of the first things that I would need to do is meet with Dr. Harvey, the superintendent, and kind of explain and set forth a plan with her. This would possibly be including the district lawyer, since the Hernandezes have already hired a lawyer. And it would be a discussion also with the current biology teachers, because some of them might have ideas of how to help him, and possibly, I know one of my option 5 that I didn't talk about on the last slide, is there a way to broadcast what they're doing to him in another room that's accessible? So working with those people would be important and would probably be my first step. After calling the Hernandezes, actually would be my first step. I would call them and apologize and just say, we're working on this. We're going to get back with you as soon as possible. I think that it is important to meet with Miss Guzman, is how I'm pronouncing it. I hope that's right. It seems to me, in the way that this case study is written, that she kind of did this and made this decision on her own, possibly without telling me, and she didn't think through the progress, because hopefully if she would have told me, maybe we could have accomplished this in a different way. And just having that discussion with her, saying these decisions need to be made with me. I should have been brought in the loop on this, because obviously now it's escalated to bringing a lawyer in and having this family that's been through a trauma very upset, and it should have never gotten to that level. And lastly, I would include myself, Dr. Harvey, the Hernandez family. Obviously, they could or could not bring their lawyer in, but after that decision was made, possibly giving them multiple options, but after consulting with the above people, having that decision and hopefully, calming the situation down and apologizing again, because they were wronged in this. They were definitely treated wrong. Overall, I actually think that I would include 3 and 4 together. I think it would be important to hopefully get him an accessible entrance to that classroom that he'd have right now. I can't imagine being through the trauma he had and then being told that he just couldn't go along and couldn't be included with his classmates in their normal day-to-day, because I think it would be very important to get him back to as normal of a schedule as possible. This would fix the inequality and bias of those allocation of resources. And no matter what, I think option 4 has to be addressed. The fact that they are not ADA compliant at Nottingham is really discouraging, because you're just not providing that equitable access to students. And who knows how many students this may have detoured from coming to your high school in the past because they can't access some of those trailers and some of those courses. And overall, I hope that I have addressed the NELP standard, and that we need to find a way to reach all of those students, especially those that unfortunately, this student in this situation faced a trauma and was treated unfairly coming back to us. And so we want to be able to make sure to cultivate and advocate for equitable access for all of our students from here on out.